This is the Qtv Nightly News, which is also on Q Radio 103.3 FM, and I am Jul Denjai. Thank you for joining us. Here are the headlines. The government of the Gambia has appointed a special prosecutor to lead efforts to prosecute crimes committed during the Jammeh era. The First Ladies Forum on Zero Tolerance for Gender-Based Violence officially opened in Banjul on Wednesday, aiming to promote collaboration, share effective strategies and develop comprehensive roadmap to prevent and address GBV across the region. The Gambia Revenue Authority has generated nearly $7.8 billion in revenue for the first quarter of 2026, marking a strong and encouraging performance that exceeds its quarterly target. At the launch of the Biofin project and the opening of the stakeholder engagement event, Ms. Mandisa Mashologo, the UNDP country representative, praised the Gambia for its strong commitment to advancing global biodiversity financing initiatives. And in international news, the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, EBIT, has approved a combined financing package of $266.7 million and 30 billion West African francs CFA to support a diverse portfolio of strategic projects in 5 West African countries. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. Thank you very much for staying with us. If you are just tuning in, this is the Qtv Nightly News. The government of the Gambia has appointed a special prosecutor to lead efforts to prosecute crimes committed during the Jammeh era. British national Martin Hackett will now take on the role in what authorities describe as a major step towards ensuring accountability and advancing the implementation of the TRRC recommendations. Usman Jatta reports.
Nearly a decade after the end of Yahya Jammeh's rule, the Gambia is entering what many described as the most critical phase of its transitional justice process. At the government's latest press briefing, the Justice Minister confirmed the appointment of a special prosecutor to lead prosecutions linked to Jammeh-era crimes documented by the TRRC between July 1994 and January 2017.
I am honored to announce, on behalf of the government of the Gambia, that Mr. Martin Hackett, a British national, has been appointed as the special prosecutor for the Gambia to head the investigations and prosecutions of the TRRC cases. Mr. Hackett is a British barrister with more than 30 years of experience in criminal and international law, a graduate of Aberystwyth University, where he obtained his LLB honors. He was called to the bar in 1995 and has built a career focused on complex prosecutions involving war crimes, terrorism, serious organized crime.
The Special Prosecutor's Office was established by the Special Accountability Act of 2024, empowering it to investigate and prosecute serious human rights violations and international crimes committed. The Justice Minister outlined the office's functions and responsibilities.
Investigate cases of serious human rights violations, including international and domestic crimes that have occurred between July 1994 and January 2017, using any method or technique permitted by applicable law. 2, to initiate and conduct prosecutions for offenses which were recommended by the TRRC and accepted by the government for prosecution, and which come to the attention of the special prosecutor during his investigations of the TRRC findings.
With the special prosecutor expected to arrive before the end of April, Minister Jallow announced the allocated budget by the government of the Gambia in partnership with ECOWAS.
The $2.5 million annual budget is an estimation that we developed with ECOWAS, the Joint Technical Committee. But the law requires the prosecutor himself, upon assuming office, to come up with his own budget. So he will develop the budget requirement that he thinks is what he needs for him to do his job. And based on that realistic budget, then we will still continue the fundraising in that direction. So yes, we have some seed money from government, we have some seed money from UN, and we are working with other partners as well.
The Minister of Justice emphasized that the Special Prosecutor's Office will hold those most responsible accountable through a credible and independent legal process.
The Special Prosecutor shall act as autonomous and shall not be subject to the direction or control of any other person or authority in the exercise of his or her powers or carrying out his or her functions, except to the extent provided in the SPO Act of 2024.
For many victims, the announcement represents a long-awaited step toward justice, though questions linger about whether all implicated individuals will face the courts. The government, however, insists it remains committed to ensuring justice while preserving national stability. Martin Hackett's appointment marks a decisive step towards justice, holding Jammeh-era perpetrators accountable and advancing TRRC implementation while maintaining national stability. Osman Jatta, QTV News.
The First Ladies Forum on Zero Tolerance for Gender-Based Violence, GBV, has officially opened in Banjul on Wednesday. As Lolly M. Kamara reports, the forum brought together regional leaders, experts and stakeholders. The forum aims to foster collaboration, share effective strategies and develop comprehensive roadmap to address and prevent GBV across the region.
As part of the implementation of the Sweat Plus project, the government of the Gambia, in collaboration with the Department of Human Development and Social Affairs of the ECOWAS Commission, the West African Health Organization, WAHO, the Economic Community of Central African States, the World Bank, and the United Nations Population Fund, is organizing this forum. Among its objectives is to mobilize the commitment of first ladies in the fight against gender-based violence and school dropout among adolescent girls, while also strengthening existing institutional structures and consolidating progress in combating GBV. Demba Ba is the permanent secretary at the Ministry of Gender and Social Welfare.
Your presence here today is a testament to shared commitment of our region and our partners to confront one of the most pressing challenges of our time: the protection, empowerment, and advancement of women and girls.
Eleonora Cabanero, Senior Economist for Health at the World Bank, Dairo Sar, UNFPA Country Representative, and Miata Lily French, ECOWAS Resident Representative to the Gambia, all reaffirmed their commitment to advancing the rights and welfare of women and girls across West and Central Africa.
By coming together through this forum, surplus countries are sending a clear and unified message. Zero tolerance for gender-based violence is a shared and regional responsibility.
As UNFPA, our commitment to ending gender-based violence in West Africa and beyond is unwavering. It is grounded in the principles of resilience, renewal, and the acceleration of the International Conference on Population and Development (ICPD) Program of Action, as we strive to achieve our three transformative results, and one of them is including zero gender-based violence by 2030.
As the technical backbone of this fight, your mission over the next 2 days is to move from diagnosis to surgical intervention. We need a common regional indicator framework to track progress under our new 2025 to 2030 strategy.
Fatou Kinte, Minister of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, highlighted the significance of the event and reminded attendees of the relevant statistics.
Violence against women and girls continue to scar our societies, robbing them of dignity, opportunity, and hope. But we also know that the resilience of our communities and the power of collaboration is essential. This forum is not only a meeting of distinguished minds, but also a powerful demonstration of regional solidarity and shared responsibility.
Officials said the expert meeting is a crucial step in breaking the culture of silence and impunity. It allowed participants to share best practices and develop a regional roadmap on zero tolerance for gender-based violence to guide ministerial discussions and the First Lady's joint declaration. For QTV News, Slowly M. Kamal.
The Gambia Revenue Authority has recorded nearly $7.8 billion in revenue for the first quarter of 2026, a strong and encouraging performance that exceeds its target and reinforces confidence in the country's domestic revenue mobilization efforts. Aliou Cisse has the details.
At a media engagement today at the GRA head office in Banjul, attended by both chair and senior management, Commissioner General Yankuba Dabo announced that his office collected $7.7 billion, surpassing its target of $7.4 billion, representing 3% collection above the target and a positive variance of $247 million for the first quarter of 2026.
When you compared the revenue performance for the first quarter of the previous year, 2025, the 2026 first quarter performance shows an impressive 14% increase above the target and absolute variance of 971 million. As you are aware, the authority has been tasked by the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs to mobilize over 28 billion for the year 2026 fiscal year. I am pleased to inform you that our first quarter performance already represents 27% of the annual target, placing us firmly on track to meet and potentially exceed our revenue target.
In a comparison, Dabo revealed that the revenue collected in this first quarter is equivalent to what the country collected in the entire 2015.
This is a clear manifestation of the progress we have made over the years in strengthening the domestic revenue mobilization. Our performance is further supported by strong performance across the key revenue systems with both the Customs and Excise and Domestic Taxes Department, registering significant year-in-year growth. In March 2026, we reached a historic milestone by exceeding the 3 billion in a single month threshold for the first time in the history of revenue collection in this country.
He cautioned, however, that maintaining this positive trend depends on global economic stability, noting that worsening international crisis could threaten future revenue performance.
If things continue like this, it will be very difficult for us to get closer to what we need to get at the end of the year. Because some of these things are beyond us. It is not within the control of within the Gambia or the government. Things happen in other parts of the world, but the reflections comes over here.
He expressed appreciation to the board for its leadership as well as management and staff for their professionalism and dedication. He commended taxpayers and key stakeholders for their compliance, singling out commercial banks, telecom companies like QCell and FinTech for timely tax payments. Beyond revenue collection, GRA has rolled out several key initiatives such as digital systems and improved workplace infrastructure.
We are able to get all through because of the political support. The political support comes from His Excellency, the President, and his cabinet. They are the people who give us support to be able to achieve whatever we want to achieve.
CG Dabo said his office remains committed to sustaining the momentum and meeting its 2026 revenue targets despite global uncertainties. He advocated for a United Nations to promote the country's development and stability. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
We will now go for a commercial break. When we return, we have more national and international news stories for you. Do stay tuned. Welcome back, and this is QTV News, and I am Jules Denjai. Now to the rest of our stories. Ms. Mandisa Moshologu, the UNDP country representative, commended the Gambia for its commitment to advancing global biodiversity financing initiatives. She made these remarks during the launch of the Biofin project and the opening of a day-long stakeholder engagement event. Ansumana Esonyasi has the details.
The Gambia has recently intensified its efforts to address challenges associated with financing biodiversity conservation and promoting sustainable environmental management. These efforts include broad-based stakeholder engagement, such as today's capacity building program, alongside the implementation of targeted projects and policy frameworks. Such initiatives have drawn recognition from international partners, including the United Nations. The UNDP country representative, Ms. Mandisa Magolu, described these efforts as welcoming, underscoring the country's growing commitment in this area. Emphasizing the importance of the Gambia's participation in global initiatives to strengthen biodiversity financing, she highlighted the need to promote collaboration and active engagement among key stakeholders, and reaffirms the UN system's commitment to supporting national efforts to advance biodiversity financing.
The success of Biofin will depend on strong partnerships across government, civil society, academia, the private sector, and development partners. A whole of government and a whole of society approach is needed to mainstream biodiversity across national development priorities.
The Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Finance, Babukar Job, and the Executive Director of the National Environment Agency, Dauda Baji, stated that the launch of the Biodiversity Financing Initiative, supported by the Global Environment Facility, along with other related projects, will significantly strengthen domestic efforts to mobilize financial resources for biodiversity conservation and sustainable ecosystem management. While underscoring ongoing national efforts to bridge the biodiversity financing gap, they also called on stakeholders to enhance collaboration and demonstrate sustained commitment toward achieving these objectives.
Our recently developed climate prosperity investment and financing strategy positions climate resilience and environmental sustainability as drivers of long-term prosperity, not merely as costs. The strategy, coordinated by the Ministry of Finance, introduces a three-phase investment framework spanning 2025 to 2050, with nature-based solutions featuring prominently through the coastal restoration, mangrove regeneration, and ecotourism development.
How can we look into other sustainable funding to ensure that when GEF supports are not there, country can move forward with whatever initiative they have built? And this is very, very important. I'm an operational focal point, but I also sit in the council, the Global Environment Facility Council, where we discuss how these resources are distributed globally. And some of the key aspects that they talk about is how can we sustain so that at some point these resources will not. The donors are also getting tired.
The Biofin project is expected, among other things, to assess and analyze existing biodiversity-related expenditures and financial flows, as well as support the implementation of innovative financing solutions for biodiversity conservation and sustainable resource management. Answana Esonyasi for Qtv News.
The State-Owned Enterprises Commission has signed performance contracts with state agencies in a move aimed at strengthening transparency, accountability, and results-driven management across public enterprises. Yafatu Gay attended the event and she filed in this report.
The agencies included the Gambia International Airlines, the National Water and Electricity Company, the Gambia Printing and Publishing Corporation, the Gambia National Petroleum Company, the National Food Security Processing and Marketing Corporation, and the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation. The contracts are anchored on newly finalized key performance indicators developed in line with the State-Owned Enterprises Act. These KIPs emphasize financial performance, operational efficiency, and good governance, ensuring that each enterprise meets clearly defined targets throughout the year. Mamadou B.A. Senghor, chairman of the Gambian National Petroleum Corporation, explained the significance of the performance contracts and reaffirmed his institution's commitment to meeting its targets.
We're doing all this to show goodwill and show willingness to perform. So we thank you very much and hope that 2026 will be an even better year than 2025.
The Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation and the Gambia Printing and Publishing Corporation were commended by the Commission for their strong performances and encouraged to sustain their efforts. Dr. Ali Ofal is the chairman of the GPPC.
We are very much profoundly grateful for the support that we have been getting over the period and also your timely intervention with the special audit that has changed many things around and reset our governance structure, and that is the results that you are seeing right now.
Gallo Saidi, Managing Director of NAWEC, highlighted challenges in the energy sector and called for increased investment.
We are going to look at aggressively what the options are, so we make sure that we comply with these performance KPIs, and at the same time, if not exceed expectations, but to try to minimize the disruptions that we are having in the systems. It's not only electricity, even water.
Usman Gom, chairman of the State-Owned Enterprises Commission, encouraged collaboration, describing the initiative as a key component of the government's broader reform agenda, and wished all agencies success in meeting their 2026 targets.
Overall, we're grateful for the wider stakeholder group within the sector. Therefore, understood the need to work as a team and create an enabling environment for better performance for state-owned enterprises. That is the spirit that we seek to promote within this commission. A spirit of accountability, a spirit of dialogue, and transparent work.
The State-Owned Enterprises Commission is a government body mandated to oversee, monitor, and evaluate the performance of public enterprises. The Commission is responsible for setting performance targets, ensuring accountability and transparency, and promoting good governance across all state-owned institutions. Reporting for QTV News, this is Yafat Gay.
Now, the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, EBIT, has approved a combined financing package of $266.7 million and 30 billion West African CFA franc to support a diverse portfolio of strategic projects in Nigeria, the Gambia, Ghana, Senegal, and Cote d'Ivoire. Here is the report. The approvals were granted during the bank's 95th Board of Directors session held on the 30th of March 2026, underscoring EBIT's continued role in promoting sustainable, inclusive, and resilient development across the ECOWAS region. Speaking at the meeting, EBIT President and Chairman of the Board, Dr. George Ayekum Donko, emphasized that the investments are aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals and are designed to drive long-term economic transformation. He noted that the bank's focus on infrastructure, agro-industry, environmental management, and industrial development is key to build a more integrated and competitive West African economy. Nigeria accounts for a significant share of the approved funding. A $50 million investment will support the construction of waste management facilities in Lagos under a public-private partnership aimed at boosting recycling capacity, improving sanitation, and creating over 5,000 jobs. In addition, $100 million has been allocated to the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, a major infrastructure project expected to enhance connectivity, ease congestion, and stimulate regional trade. Another $91.68 million will go a long way toward transport infrastructure development in Bauchi State to modernize road networks and improve access to essential services. In Senegal, EBIT approved a 20 billion CFA credit line to the National Bank for Economic Development to strengthen financing for small and medium-sized enterprises, support agriculture, and promote employment, particularly for women and youth. The Gambia will benefit from a $10.4 million to expand eFarms Limited increasing poultry and dietary production, and improving food security while reducing reliance on imports. Meanwhile, Ghana will also receive $15 million to establish a tissue paper manufacturing plant, boosting local production and supporting industrialization. In Côte d'Ivoire, a $10 billion credit line to Afriland First Bank will enhance support for MSMEs and stimulate private sector growth. Collectively, these investments highlight EBIT's strategic role in strengthening infrastructure, supporting businesses, and fostering inclusive economic development across West Africa. Reporting for QTV News, I am Julde. Well, this is all we have for you in this edition of the News Bulletin, but before we go, here is a recap of the headlines. The government of the Gambia has appointed British national Martin Hackett as special prosecutor to lead prosecutions of crimes committed during the Jammeh era. The First Ladies Forum on Zero Tolerance for Gender-Based Violence, GBV, officially opened in Banjul on Wednesday, aiming to promote collaboration, share effective strategies, and develop comprehensive roadmap to prevent and address GBV across the region. The Gambia Revenue Authority has generated nearly $7.8 billion in revenue for the first quarter of 2026, marking a strong and encouraging performance that exceeds its quarterly target. And at the launch of the Biofin project and the opening of the stakeholder engagement event, Ms. Mandisa, the UNDP country representative, praised the Gambia for its strong commitment to advancing global biodiversity financing initiatives. And in international news, the West African Economic Commission, the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, EBIT, has approved a combined financing package of $266.7 million and 30 billion West African CFA franc to support diverse portfolio of strategic projects in 5 West African countries. This is all we have for you in this edition of the News Bulletin. Do join us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. for another News Bulletin. Until then, it's a bye from us and enjoy the rest of our programs.